AskReddit. What is the most NSFW thing that happened at your work? HR lady grabbing my junk under the table at company picnic. Move her hand and look over, and she is doing the same thing to my boss on the other side of her. She may have been slightly intoxicated. One of my coworkers often would pull up her dress and flash another girl in the office for fun. One time she decided to do it in the copy room, just as the owner of the company walked in. Secretary got caught having sex with an intern in a room where we kept all the filing cabinets. They had started so fast that the secretary had left one of the shelves open, and she held onto it to stabilize herself. The pair got so excited at one point that the intern quite literally pelvic thrusted her so hard that the secretary slammed the shelf closed with her body while her fingers were still in the shelf and broke most of her fingers. The resulting scream is how we all found out. Worked for a trucking/delivery company one summer. A woman got fired for, well, I guess you'd call it nymphomania. She would disappear for 20 minutes pretty often without a good explanation. She got caught having sex at least 4 times that I know of. Once with a customer in the bathroom, 3 times with the drivers in their trucks. She was warned in writing to stop having sex while at work. She just couldn't do it. The last time, both she and the truck driver got fired on the spot. This will probably get buried, but what the hell. 20 plus years ago, I worked at a bookstore. The store was carpeted. One day, the manager elected to 1. Wear a skirt without unders, and 2. Sit on the floor while doing inventory. The manager, it turns out, had multiple genital piercings. She got stuck to the carpet. The manager flagged down another woman who worked at the store, enlisting her and freeing her lady business from the carpet. So, yeah, that happened. Professional piercer here. When I was fairly early in my career, 6-ish months in, I had 2 girls walk in for nipple piercings. The one girl had literally just turned 18, the other woman was her mom. Mom sits in the lobby and daughter comes back to get cleaned and marked before the piercing. Get set to do the first piercing, and right as I have her breathe out and pierce her nipple, she makes the loudest moan. I'm talking like it sounded like she got off hard. From the lobby I hear her mom yell, "Don't ruin her. She just turned 18. Had to do the other piercing while she was breathing heavily and gasping. She definitely got off on it. Most awkward piercing ever." Checked the answering machine. Call from coworker. She butt dialed the office answer machine. Apparently in the middle of sex. She comes in and we start ribbing her. "So how is your husband doing?" "Pretty happy. Oh yeah, he went down to St. Louis and saw the ball game last. He's on his way home about now." Turns out, she didn't know she butt dialed us during sex. When we tell her about it, she begs us not to tell her husband. She was having sex with his brother. Oh crap. While writing the first one, literally at least a dozen came to mind. Same ER. The only room that really had some privacy was the GYN exam room. It's around 1 AM. 3 AM was when it got real quiet in the ER, so I remember it being before that. I'd taken attractive, keyed up 20 something into the room and left while she got changed. I came back, did my customary knock on the door, and wound up walking in on my patient suffocating herself with a pillow. Didn't work, as the noise was evident the minute I opened the door, as her girlfriend went down on her. It was a very hot scene, and I'll admit, I stopped and just stared for several seconds. The diver suddenly stopped, looked at me, and threw 2 bills at me, completely deadpan. "We've always wanted to do this. There's another one of those, if you give us 20 minutes. They landed on the floor. I'm just still staring. She didn't wait and dove back into her work. When her girlfriend started moaning, I jumped a bit, backed out and closed the door. You know, patient privacy being important and stuff. Went back to the desk and just sat for several minutes before my nurse came out. I know some of you really want to get it on in a hospital, but people die in those beds. And worse. He finally pried it out of me and went to put a stop to it, which really consisted of escorting the 2 of them out. They both blew me a kiss, which blew my young mind. Wow. Writing that one. Looking back over the years, there's a lot of sex in the ER, and it's not like Grey's Anatomy. Working as an evening custodian in a college years ago, was hustling around setting up classrooms, walked in and snapped on the lights to find a mostly naked couple with the guy's head between her legs while she was perched on the instructor's lectern. I laughed and moved on to the next room. They were gone a few minutes later. I wonder if they actually took classes in that room. Might make the lectures more interesting. Not my work, but I had a good electrician I used a couple times. A friend was looking for one. She's an older single and attractive lady, probably mid-50s. I was in my early 30s and the electrician was around the same. So he went to her place and did a good job. She let me know that he was good at the work in a professional way. Then a week later the electrician accidentally sent her a DCK pic. I guess she suddenly had another electrical problem and needed the electrician again. She said he did a good job that time too. A coworker of mine was double booked for conference calls, so asked me to sit in on the one he was missing and take notes. These people are from all over the US, and I'm not familiar with any of them. Shortly after the call starts, we hear a soft moan. Later another, this time male. Another minute of talking, and then a scream followed by a giggle, a whisper, and a male saying, "Yeah, I made sure it's muted." All of this is going on in the background, while the project manager and others are talking about the project. Finally the unmuted lovers really start going at it, rhythmic moaning and long, drawn out groans. The project manager interrupts whoever is talking and says, "Wait, does anybody else hear that?" She must have been on a crummy speakerphone, because I'd been hearing them loud and clear on my headset. The moaning and groaning intensifies. "Hello? Who is that? Are you okay?" A few other participants chime in. "Sounds like they're doing fine. Just ignore it. And seriously guys, you're not muted. Mute your phone." By this time the sounds have stopped, but the call manager still doesn't realize what was going on. She says, "No, it sounds like somebody might be hurt. Are you okay? Do we need to call an ambulance?" Silence. She does a roll call, and everybody speaks up when she calls their name. Though I'm sure a lot of us sounded guilty as we tried not to laugh. I quickly told my local coworkers what I'd witnessed when I got off the call, and the guy who missed it was bummed for weeks. TLDR. Heard conference call participants banging on a big project call. Leader mistook cries of pleasure for pain and worriedly considered calling an ambulance. Deployed in Afghanistan. I was in the shower when all of a sudden we were being hit by incoming mortars. One of the mortars landed so close and loud that I didn't think twice about grabbing a towel. I ran straight to the nearest bunker, and apparently I wasn't the only one that reacted the same way. So here I'm with 10 other people completely nude. Everyone was hiding their goods, and not even so much as a giggle was heard. Slowly but surely, hands were growing weary, fear of another mortar attack had subsided, and the laughing started. Eventually, nobody cared that they were being seen in the nude by the opposite sex. Boobs and clocks were all over the place, and it was the first time in 8 months since I've seen so much as a side boob. The mental images from that incident had held me over for the duration of the deployment. We got the all clear to exit the bunker and everyone went about their business. Made a lot of close friends that day. My first week barbecuing. I'm in South Florida at a chain bar/restaurant. Saturday night, 3 bartenders and me. There's 2 cougars hanging out at the bar, being real friendly and flirty. One of the bartenders leans over and whispers something in her ear. So as I'm washing glassware I see her get up and go walk into a private party room. There wasn't any parties going on. Sometimes people went in there to use the bathroom, so they didn't have to walk to the back. Anyway, I see the bartender walk off the bar and go in there too. 10 minutes later he comes out smiling and comes back on the bar. Turns out she gave him a blowjob in there. She comes back out to the bar. A second bartender starts talking to her, and then they went back to the party room. Keep in mind this is a family place. There's tons of kids roaming this place. 10 minutes later he comes back. At this point they ask me if I want to turn, but I was kind of grossed out about sticking my DCK where both of his had just been. But it was kind of an honor that they asked me before asking the third bartender, who promptly went in the party room and got a blowjob also. I was pretty amazed. Nobody got caught. Nobody got fired. And her friend thought it was the funniest thing in the world. I kind of regret it now, but it was kind of gross and managers tend to look for barbacks much more than bartenders, so the risk would have been higher. Got 22 years in the bar/restaurant business. I've got hundreds of stories. I work at my college campus library and we have private study rooms that can be taken out for a few hours at a time. So, naturally, couples rent them to have sex in. We can't really deny students from taking them out until they actually commit public indecency, so it's basically a crapshoot. Aside from that, we have a couple who routinely come into the library and take a desk on the corner of a floor that's not visited too often, and they are often found in compromising positions. One time, the girl was full on straddling the guy in his chair, and another time, the guy was face down on the floor, shirtless, with the girl sitting on him and giving him a back rub. Despite being talked to a couple of times, they still managed to come in and forget that the library isn't an ideal place to frick-frack. Needless to say, we have security issues. A coworker of mine liked to wear mini skirts. She also didn't like to wear panties. I discovered the second preference one day when she crawled under her desk to retrieve her pen. Oh, and she was either a natural redhead or very thorough. Edit. Yeah, she was pretty hot. Maybe 5 feet 3 inches, red hair, about the same as Karen Gillan, maybe a touch brighter, kept herself in good shape, liked to wear tight mini skirts and deep, V-neck tops. Oh, and she was one of the top salespeople in the company. Small wonder. I don't think she was coming on to me, as she hadn't really shown any interest in me prior to that. We chatted from time to time, but we weren't work buddies or anything. I was IT, so I ended up chatting with everyone at one point or another. She left the company a couple years later. Shortly after she left, one of the other women in the office, our HR rep, was chatting with me and commented that her job was a lot more quiet. When I asked why, she said red had flashed just about everyone in the office. I got a lot of complaints, but mainly from the women. She looked at me, noted the blushing, gave me a smirk, and we talked about something else. Now I think about it, the HR gal was pretty hot too, and so were a lot of the other hires made around the same time. Then I realized the office manager back then was a horn dog. The end. Thanks for watching.